Veronica, Darnell, Armani, Tiffany, Tatiana, Jamal, Regina, Deandre, Dondre. Cool. All right, now I got everyone. So for me, I look at myself as an educator, but I'm also very passionate about delivering any resources that I possibly can to those who want them. So it's through my business that I do these things. I'm originally from South Central LA. I'm the oldest of 3 girls, no brothers. First in my family to go to college, and then I went to Princeton University. I graduated 4.3 GPA high school, was relatively involved. So my story and my experience is what I usually leverage in order to give you that information about the questions you asked. I had no idea I would go to Princeton. It wasn't on my radar. I didn't even know anything about Princeton, really. I only knew that Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was supposed to go there. His dad was mad adamant about it. Didn't have Princeton on my radar. And I share that with you to say you have to start thinking about opportunities beyond your radar, which means you have to do research. Because college costs can vary from hella expensive to nothing at all. And at the time that I went to Princeton, this was a university that's private and Ivy League and expensive. $40,000 was how much it cost each year. I got a grant and scholarship, no loans, because Ivies are transitioning into this space where they don't offer loans in their financial aid package. So it makes it very affordable for you to go. And it's their understanding that they're trying to actually create a more multicultural campus by letting in and giving opportunities to people who come from a low-income background, which is what I did, but was very smart and wanted the opportunity. And so that's kind of why they started to do this, to be able to make college more affordable. But at the same token, you got to be prepared for a place like Princeton or Harvard or Cornell or Yale. So there's certain things to consider, but I would encourage you to research college costs from the state level, community college level, all the way to the 4-year Ivy League level, because I came out of Princeton with about $12,000 in debt, and that's because I chose to take out loans. So everything else was covered. They paid for me to go to school, and that could be an opportunity that you can have very, very, very easily. You know, I mean, I don't know what your grades are, but you shouldn't really even focus on your grades as much as you focus on the application in its entirety, making sure that you're a well-rounded candidate, you've got many selling points beyond your grades, because the grades will speak for themselves. That's paper. They can do that research and request all your grades. They want to know, how can you contribute to this particular environment, and then when you leave this environment, how can you contribute to the university? What will you be doing in your life that's so grand, that's so great, that's going to make an impact that as an alumni we would be proud to be affiliated with you. And so that's how you have to go into the process. When you start to consider costs, there are definitely tuition and room and board. Can't get around those. So that's whether you live on campus or not, you still have to consider those factors. Books, that's out of your pocket. You can possibly get scholarships for stuff like that, but at the same token, depending on if the scholarship is sent directly to you or if it's sent to the university, it might not be in your control. So books are definitely an out-of-pocket expense, and they can run a few $100s every semester. There's definitely ways to get around that though. You know, you can buy used books, you can go to the websites that do a lot of swapping. There's tons of resources today, especially, you know, compared to when I was in college over 5 years ago. So for me, I always encourage the research. Research is going to be very, very important. But do you have any idea about where you want to be? Do you want to stay in New York? Do you want to go out of state? Because that's going to impact college costs as well. When you move out of state, it's definitely more because you're an out-of-state candidate. You've got the moving costs to consider, which is what I had to consider as well. I probably spent like $10,000 just getting into Princeton, like buying all the stuff that I needed over the course of 4 years. Didn't really prepare for that. You don't really know how. But a good chunk of money was spent in getting in there and feeling settled and feeling comfortable. So you have to consider those moving costs, but also just like the regular things. You know, I needed a storage bin that I didn't think I would necessarily need, and you got to go shopping for things like that. So scholarship money comes into play and is helpful there as well, the moving costs. But do you have any idea where you want to be?
I actually was thinking about Spelman in Atlanta.
Okay.
I wanted to go there. I haven't really thought about anywhere else. Maybe Duke. or Georgetown, but that's about it. I haven't thought about anywhere else.
Okay. When I teach about college, I always encourage young people to apply to at least 12 schools because there's no reason not to. Depending on your situation, you could get a fee waiver to apply to as many colleges as you like. I applied to 8, got in all 8. I encourage you to apply to 12 schools, and you can decide how you choose those 12 based on a few things. Geography, so do you want to be on the East Coast, do you want to be on West Coast, you choose. And then based on this method I call safeties, targets, and reach. You have your safety schools, which are schools you can get into, no problem whatsoever. I got that. Then you have the target schools, which are schools that you could probably get into, that's where you want to be, you know what it takes to get in. And then you have the reach schools, which I'm not quite sure if I can get into that school, but if I did, it would be great, it would be awesome. I would like to aspire to that. So you have 3 different categories, and I usually encourage you to put at least 4 different schools in each category. That way you have more than one option, and you actually start to consider yourself in other places. The world is very big, and Atlanta's great. Georgia's a great place to go to school, but there's other places that I think you would benefit from and then be able to contribute to as well and come out being just as a dynamic person as you would at Spelman. So keep Spelman, but add 11 other schools to your list. That way you have options, and if you don't get in, you still have a college destination, so that's going to be very important. Right now, the balance and the decisions that are being made is, do I really send my kid to college knowing how much it's going to cost, and then they come out and not be able to find a job? That's a debate that's actually going on right now. And then with the government kind of taking away certain loans, Perkins loans might not be there anymore, which definitely was influential in my college career as well. But you have to consider these costs. You do have to consider, all right, if I'm going to take this student loan, is it going to cover the cost minimally, or do I need a little bit extra to actually live off of? Or will I get a job? Will I have an on-campus job? Can I get an off-campus job juxtaposed to my time in class? Do I have the time to take on a job? Do I have the energy to take on a job? Should I just focus on my studies? And that's kind of where your own behavior has to come into check. I think that will also impact kind of how you view the college experience, because I know I had a job every year. I had to. But it was a great way to meet more people. It was a great way to gain experience. I could add it to my resume. So there were things that you can also benefit from having the job, not only just cutting your costs. As mentioned, and Andre shared that, there are plenty of resources out there for you to get low-cost books, used books. So I think the books part of it is kind of covered. The actual cost of college, though, can range. It can range from, $30,000 up to $60,000. It can be very, very expensive, and that's per year. So you have to go in knowing one thing: get the money before you get there. Scholarships, scholarships, scholarships. Right now, what grade are you?
11.
11. So you should be researching. My challenge for you would be to come up with a list of 50 scholarships. And I'm sure you could do 100, but 50, start there. 50 scholarships that you would be able to apply for even as a rising senior or towards the end of your senior year, going into your first year of college. Learn about them now so that you can start to craft your application. If you need to get recommendations from people, and most of the time you do. Scholarships have the essay, they have the recommendations, and then they have like the generic stuff, your transcript and filling out the paperwork. But you want to be able to position yourself to get as much money as you possibly can. I got about $20,000 in scholarships before I even got to college. And that was just because I did research, I found them, and I applied. I got them. Most of the time, people don't know about a lot of the scholarships that are out there, and that's the downside. So I also have a program that I'm working with, a few programs that I'm working with that I will definitely give you guys information about, and I have a sign-in sheet. That sign-in sheet will allow for me to correspond with you with the opportunities that I provide through my business, but also with opportunities for college, like scholarships and these different programs that recruit high school seniors, take them through like the entire process, give them access to other opportunities like scholarships, mentorships, and internships, which will be very critical for you during the summer as well. So be sure to sign up. I'm going to pass that around so everyone can put the information on it. But I would challenge you to start doing your research for scholarships right now. Come up with a list of 50 and then understand what you got to do to put that application together. And then from the recommendations perspective, who you think will give you the best recommendation and not just like talk good about you, but actually make somebody say, wow, this person is really impressive. We should not put her application in the no pile, at least put it in the yes pile and then follow up. So think about teachers, think about counselors, think about any of your community members. Stay away from family because they don't, family's gonna talk great about you all the time. And plus they don't actually let you submit recommendations from family. So start to think about the resources that you have in your people category and start to garner their support. I may be reaching out to you for a scholarship recommendation over the next few weeks or months. I just want to put this buzz in your ear, and then start to craft emails based on the people who say, yeah, I think I can write you a recommendation. Start to craft your emails because you're going to want deadlines in there saying, look, application is due this day. I need your recommendation 2 weeks before. I'm giving you all the materials now. So it's kind of a process you have to back out of. You start with the end dates and then back out and say, all right, I've got 6 weeks to get this together. And that's a process I would be more than willing to make myself available to help you with if and when you get there. And this is where the debate is right now in our country. Do I go? Do I spend $100,000 on a degree when I might not be able to come out and get a job because of the markets? My perspective is whenever you're preparing for anything, you got to back out from the time in which you're trying to be there. So you're considering a master's?
No, I was just wondering.
Just wondering. Okay, well, even if you decide to consider it, because I think at some point the master's is going to be like the high school diploma. You just got to have it or you can't get anywhere. So I'm even considering my master's just for what? I'm not quite sure. MBA or education or psychology, who knows? But I think we all should at some point aspire to at least have it as part of the plan. So with that in mind, I'll give you this information. As Tiffany mentioned, she wished she would have saved more. So from the money perspective, a master's degree is going to cost you anywhere from 85 to 100 grand, if not more, depending on like just what's happening there at the particular institution. So it's a place where it's going to cost you, and you definitely want to feel like you're getting the best bang for your buck, because that's a lot of money. That's a salary for a whole year for some people, or maybe 2 or 3 years. The best way to do that is to understand the cost of the school that you want to go to, but first you have to understand why this school. Your undergrad was for electrical engineering, right? So if you were to pursue higher education beyond that, would it possibly be in engineering or something like completely different? Or you're not even sure?
Probably go to a law school.
Really? Okay. That's really cool.
Diversity.
Okay. So even from that perspective, preparing for a law degree is even more challenging. But there are actually a lot of scholarships out there for pursuing your law degree. You want to start to look at fellowships that could be applicable. But the preparation process is going to be one where you have to understand what it really means to get a master's. As Tiffany mentioned, it's no hand-holding. It's no, here's the syllabus. it's more like you will become a master of this subject, which is why it's called a master's degree. The idea is that you've mastered this field, so much so that we can call in your expertise for whatever, but you know this like the back of your hand. You are a master in this whatever. So one, you have to be passionate about it, because I'm not going to master anything that I'm really just interested in. You have to be something that I'm really passionate about. And then to come out with the grades that you want as well, because that's probably going to dictate to a certain extent what kind of jobs or opportunities are there for you. Not necessarily though, because sometimes they just want to know that you got the degree. They're not as interested in the grades, but that depends. So understand going in what a master's degree means to you. I'm going to master some topic or subject. Is it worth it? How much is it going to cost? And then the same idea is just preparing for it. The application, and then as Tiffany mentioned, knowing what scholarships and fellowships are available so you don't have to take out as many loans when that process comes. And then I guess just being prepared to understand the output. So yeah, I'm putting all this in, but what do I want out of this experience?